Good evening and welcome to the Let's Talk Destiny Talk show. I am Jamie Green, your host, and I am beyond excited tonight to have a very special guest of mine, the one and only Elissa Gabrielle. And Elissa is an empowering and enlightening and engaging, inspirational person. She is a powerhouse in the literary world, known by many, respected by many, and revered by many. She is constantly operating in the spirit of excellence, and this is what draws people to her. She is a visionary, a trailblazer, a master at molding human clay and shaping them into literary jewels. She's also a wife, a mother, a devoted daughter, and friend. And tonight, I say she is the epitome of a woman that is living her life out loud. And I'm truly honored to have her join me tonight. So welcome to my humble platform, Elissa.
I am happy to be here. And let me just tell you, I know the way it's spelled, but it's Elissa Gabrielle. And see,
Okay.
and some people say Elissa, but it's okay. I'm used to it. But I remember when you were first embarking on this part of your journey, I don't know how many years ago that was, but I was your first guest. And so I'm happy to be back. And I'm happy that you're continuing to walk in this blessing because you're truly gifted as an interviewer and a host and an inspiration to so many. So I'm happy to be here with you tonight.
Thank you. I'm honored to have you. And I thought about that when I first extended the invitation when I was doing the Blog Talk radio show. That was like 2012, I think, because 2013 was when I had my first spinal surgery. And I haven't done the show since then. So that was that long ago. And you were my first guest and you were such an inspiration. It's funny how time flies. And I'm pretty sure that you told me way back then how to pronounce your name, but I forgot.
No, it's perfectly fine. I'm glad you made it through the spinal surgery. You look great, and it's just nice to see you.
It's wonderful to see you too. So before we get into the conversation, the interview part of it, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your passion? What are some of your hobbies? What makes you smile?
Oh, what makes me smile? My children. My children. It's really that simple. Oh, I'm just so delighted to have them in my life. So my children make me smile every single day, even when they get on my nerves.
Yes.
Make me smile. I just love them. They're just so yummy, and I just love them. And I thank God that I was able to birth them. They are just beautiful people. And so that gives me so much joy. So my answer on that, what makes me smile, is really simple. It's being able to wake up and spend time with my children every day. It starts there.
That's wonderful. I love that. I love that. So let me ask you this question. As a national best-selling author, how many books have you written so far?
Oh, not enough.
No.
Enough. That's a good question. I think it's maybe 6 novels, or it's just not enough. But I'm thankful that I was able to write those. I've been in several anthologies and
Yes.
About maybe 6 or 7 novels, and so maybe 20 books total. But I have to step it up. I challenge myself to finish these other works and to get some more books out there. So yeah.
I just love watching you from a distance because you're such an inspiration. And some days when I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel like I can't do it. And then you'll pop up in my timeline on social media and I see something else that you're doing. And I'm like, okay, let me get up and go get something done today. And I just am so inspired by you. I really, really am. Now let me ask you this question. One of the things that I want this program or this format to do is to always encourage people to pursue purpose. I think that each one of us was created and born with purpose. I don't think we're just here for no reason. And I get in touch with a lot of people who say, I don't really know what my purpose is. I just feel like I'm just here. And so I try to encourage people to pursue their purpose. And I watch you as a woman who is definitely doing that. You have so many gifts, so many talents, and so many things, and you're not afraid to try any of these gifts. Now, the question that came to my mind when I was thinking about you is, and maybe this will help somebody else, has there been a time when you were passionate about something, you had a dream or a vision, and you did not receive the support of maybe people you thought should support you? And if that did happen to you, how did you handle
Mhm. You know, I'm going to be very honest and transparent. So, because this is what this platform is about. So, I don't want to sit up here and look shiny and new as if my life is not affected by regular things that happen to all of us. And one of the things that we go through as human beings is looking for acceptance and support and things like that. And then we don't get it, it sort of diminishes our light. And so, yeah, I have had most of my life, I haven't had the support that I needed to. I probably would have been a lot further in life had I had it. I had a wonderful father who just adored me. And I thank God that I had his love because that kept me going. It really fueled me, it propelled me, but I didn't have support traditionally.
Yes.
Even in working in corporate America, I, was very much overlooked. I had to deal with other Black women that were very mean. Um, Even in my marriage, I, just wasn't accepted by in-laws initially. And some of that has changed over the years, thank God.
Yes.
So I have, in every area of my life, I have faced resistance and obstacles and challenges. So none of this is easy. I think part of it is for me, I just have this spirit about me that just refuses to give up. But I can't say that that has always been easy to keep that ignited in me. I had to pull from a source and ask God to really get me through some of the toughest moments in my life because it was just me. And so when you see me say on social media, be you and the world will adjust. Or I may say, you may be the only one left who believes in you, but that's all you need.
Right.
I'm not just talking. I'm telling you what I've lived and what I have experienced. Even writing my first books, people laughed and said, "What are you doing?" And they couldn't see it. I picked up a considerable amount of weight when I got married and had children. Got married and had one baby, and then the next year had another baby. It put 100 pounds on me. And so then I had to deal with the ridicule and the shame of that. And I knew I was better than what my weight was, but society and,
Right.
it wasn't really my relatives. It was people outside of that would say it. Some people in my husband's family and just outside people would always have something to say about my physical appearance. And let me tell you about energy and what we have to pay attention to. So even at my highest weight, I had people would tell me all the time, you need to go into modeling, you need to go into acting, you got to do something because you're absolutely beautiful. What did I choose to hear? I chose to hear the people that had the negative comments. So we have to be very careful about what we give our energy to, what we lend our energy to. And that is so much internal work that we have to do.
Absolutely.
I think there's an African proverb and I'm just paraphrasing it, but it goes something like this. If there is no enemy within, nothing outside of that can harm you. So the healing and the work and what we choose to hear and what we choose to listen to and what we choose to believe, we have to be so grounded spiritually in whatever God that you subscribe to and whatever God you worship, and you have to be so rooted in that.
Yes.
And those roots are so strong like a tree that anything that comes cannot sway you. And so I had to go back to that because when I tell you it was objection in every area of my life, it really was. I said, well, I know what God has called me to be. Let me kind of walk in that. And so when I learned to see myself the way that I imagine God sees me, it shifted me. Yes. I said, wow, you must think I'm really special to bless me with all these gifts. Let me listen to him and let me discard the rest. But that work had to come from within. Nobody could give me that. So we can look out
and
our
when you are a
sources for
caring
inspiration,
person,
but
when you are a caring person and a loving person, you can't help but be affected to some extent by people's opinions, because you're always giving, 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 and much of what you give, you don't just, it's not just about you, it's about other people. And so when you give that out to other people and they don't receive it, or they misuse it or mishandle it, it takes you a minute to regroup, because it's like, wow, why did you do that? Like, I was only trying to give you some love, and this is what you return. And so I watch you with that, because I was thinking about, I remember you sharing before about the rejection and the disapproval of some people that you were close to. And I remember when I got ready, I had this idea that I wanted to do this talk show. And I mentioned it to my sons and my sister. But then I started seeing other people that I know that are doing talk shows, and they had so much more going for them. Like the banners and the beautiful lights and this. And I just was like, oh my God, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready. So my sister said, let me ask you a question. When people tune into a show, whatever type of show it is, are they tuning in for lights and banners, or are they tuning in for content? And I said, well, I tune in for content. She said, well, that's why people are going to tune into you. And she said, what you have to do is just pray and ask God to direct you to who, to invite to your platform, because you have to be selective in who you bring on your platform. Because I've actually had a person say to me, I want to invite you on my show, but I really, and this is a person I've known for a long time. And she says, I want to warn you ahead of time. I'm really going to eat you up when you come. Like, really? Like, what kind of invitation was that? What would make you think I would say yes to that? So it's like the jealousy, I don't know why you're jealous, because I'm from where I'm still sitting. You have so much more going on than I do. But apparently she doesn't. But I like that about you, because I hear you and I watch you always encouraging people and always have a word of uplifting. Like some days I'm like really, between the health issues and the constant pain and the death of both my parents, and then it's always something. And then it never fails. I run into you on social media and you're not even talking directly to me, but something you say ignites that fire in me and tells me to keep going. And I want to publicly thank you for that.
Oh, well, listen, I think that our gifts are not meant for just us to have. We're supposed to share that with people. Oftentimes when I'm talking on social media, I'm talking to myself first and foremost, and I'm encouraging myself, and I'm glad that people receive that. But I want to go back to something that you said earlier, and I want to remind you, when this comes up again, because it may, that comparison is the thief of joy. And so when you're looking to your left and you're looking to your right, you can't see what's in front of you. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because somebody needs your voice. Somebody needs this show without bells and whistles. They just need to know that you woke up this morning and you're able to go on and encourage somebody. Also, let me just tell you about jealousy, because I'm sure you're surrounded by it. And for people like us, it's so unnatural, because we want to see everybody win. But do you know that people can have more than you and still be jealous? Yeah, they really can. And I call it a sickness. And it's when people really acknowledge the gifts of others, but they don't recognize their own. Most of what people say and do to us it comes from a place that really has nothing to do with us, but it's totally about them. And so when we learn not to take things personal and we remove ourselves from situations that are toxic, we can live in liberation and freedom and let them go on about their business. If you walk in your purpose, people are going to be affected by that. And if it's a God-given purpose, they're going to be better. They're going to leave you better than how they found you, right? But you have to understand that you and your energy and who you are is so precious that everybody shouldn't have access to it. It should be a privilege for people to come on this show and for people to have access to you and your energy, because like you said, you contend with so much on a daily basis.
Right.
You know, I read something about, how did they say it? You keep anointing everybody with your oil, and that's why you're drained.
Okay.
So we gotta be careful. We got to be careful who we
That
put
makes
ourselves
sense.
with.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Now, I was thinking about the Elissa, the publisher, and I wanted to ask you, how do you decide when you read some material that you're going to accept and publish? Like, does it speak to your soul in a specific way? How do you decide?
You know, it depends on the energy of the person that's submitting. So if I have a conversation with someone, and I don't care how good the book is, I'd rather take somebody with, maybe if we're doing a score of an A to an F, like in grade school, I'd rather take somebody that has a C book,
Yes.
with an award-winning personality and a hustler's mentality. And because that's what editors are for, we'll get that book right. Then to take somebody that has an A+ book, but I can't deal with you because you are not grounded in reality. You know, so of course the story matters. What they bring to me as far as marketing is concerned, what their expectations are. You know, I'm an independent publisher. I have always been independent. I have never signed with a major. I've done some major things, but that has been independently. But so when people look online and they see all these bells and whistles, they think, okay, let me get with them. They're going to make it happen. No, you got to work. You got to work, and you got to work really, really hard, because I am independent.
That's right.
And I'll give you the support, and I'll hold your hand, because I want it for you as much as I want it for myself. But that was a hard lesson I had to learn in 15 years of independent publishing, is that people come, they want you to do everything. And then when you don't, they get mad. So I've had to deal with some real devils because of that. So I'm very selective now about who I take on. I haven't signed anybody new in quite some time. And that's part because I was in school and dealing with some other things, but I would be so careful now to do that. But to answer your original question, if the book is good, of course I'm interested. If their expectations are rooted in reality, then we can have a conversation. If they're going to do some work, then yeah, let's do that. So it's the whole bunch of things. It's not just a great story. It's about that person, what I think they bring to the table, the subject matter of their book, and what their expectations are.
Awesome. And it's kind of like you have a family of authors under you, and they have to fit with the family. Like, they can't just come in rubbing everybody the wrong way and, expect to be successful either.
Yeah,
one of the things that I do love about you is your family, your love for family. Family is so important. And I think I remember paying attention to your relationship with your father, because I had the same relationship with my father. And literally, when he died, I thought I was gonna die. Like, I just could not imagine the world still going on with him not being here. And so I watched you after your father transitioned, and I felt that because I had been there. Do you feel like your relationship with your father has served as a foundation for you to do a lot of the things that you're doing now? Even though he's not here physically, do you often think about something he said or done that kind of holds you up during these rough times?
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, so yeah, with my father, I think in some points in my life, he was the most important person in my life, but he gave me the gift of words and sounds. He was an exceptional musician, but he was an even better wordsmith. And most people don't know that. And I wish he had authored some books. I was happy to have him published in The Soul of a Man, the original book that I published to tell his story. Um, my relationship with my father, I think, did a couple things. It let me know that I was loved, even when I wasn't lovable, even when others thought I wasn't lovable. He loved me. That man loved me, and I
Oh, yeah.
loved him. Um, I saw, at least from my perspective, I saw what a real caring, loving Black man was. And so, although I had some idiots that I dated, it really let me know what I was going to accept and what I wasn't going to accept as far as dating.
Yes.
If you don't love me the way my father loves me,
Yes.
I can't, we're not doing this.
Exactly.
And I'm sure my mother would probably disagree, because he probably didn't deserve my mother. She was the strongest woman I knew, and he got away with murder. And so between the two of them, that's who shaped and molded me. I can't sit up here and give credit to Joe Thomas for everything, because my mother gave me, she, just watching her, she taught me how to be a woman. She taught me how to be a lady. And she actually left my dad when I was just getting ready to turn 13 years old. So it kind of stopped there, but I had watched her from a distance. And I was living with my dad, but I stayed in contact with my mom, and she really taught me how to be a lady. And for those first 12 years of my life, when we were all together, I saw how to take care of a man. That's why I do it so well, because she was exceptional at that.
Right.
So to answer your question, I talk to him every day still. When he died, I had dreaded that so much in my life that I was no good when he passed away. I'm in my home office now. It's actually a bedroom that's converted when I built the home. And so down the hall is my bedroom. I took my laptop into my bedroom and I worked out of there for 18 months. I needed to be safe in my bedroom, in those four walls, and just waited for my husband to come home every day. And I did what I had to do, but I worked from home. And so it helped. Go downstairs, do laundry, cook dinner. I didn't want to do much else. And so I worked out of my bedroom for 18 months after he died. And I didn't skip a beat, but I wasn't myself. And so I had to come up. And my father said this to me because he knows some of the things that I've had to overcome in life. And he said, Lise, you rose up out the ashes. So after he died, I had to rise up out the ashes again. And that took a while. And so I'm glad. It's an everyday battle. But he wouldn't want me to still be sitting in that bedroom.
Right.
No, so yeah.
That's powerful. I love that. Like I said, I often hear you talk about your father and your mother and how they poured into you and helped you to become the woman that you are, and the love that they showed you, you show your children. It's funny because sometimes when you show pictures of your kids, they always have this look like, Mom, for Lord's sake, would you just leave me alone? And I'm
sure they're thinking that.
And I just crack up laughing. And I said, oh, she just loves those babies. Even though they don't want to be called babies, I'm sure. But I just love the family unit that you have. And I was thinking about all the things that you do. Like, I just can't even imagine how you do all these things. Like the modeling and being a brand ambassador and being an entrepreneur. And I definitely want to get some more information from you for the naturopath part of your life, because I think there's so many of us, far too many of us, myself included, that are putting things in our bodies and that are doing things to our bodies that are detrimental. And at whatever age you are, I think you can make some changes. So I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about that.
Oh.
How did you get involved in that?
Yeah. So my husband reminded me when we first got together, we've been together a very long time now. He said, Lise, when we first got together, you said you were going to be a writer and you were going to be a doctor. Then I got pregnant and I had those babies and life took a turn. I had to take care of my children and help my husband take care of the family. And so when my mom got sick and she was diagnosed with cancer in 2011, I made some promises to her. I couldn't get good, straight answers from the doctors that were taking care of her. They were not in sync with one another about her health care. It was so tragic watching her go through that. I lost my own hair and I was heartbroken. I had to see a cardiologist. I mean, all this stuff came up. And I told her, I said, Mom, I'm going to get my doctorate in something. I got to help people because this is not right. This is not right. It was at that time that I started to learn about natural remedies, really for hair care at the time. And I said, well, how could I have helped my mom? I didn't know much at the time, but I knew that what she was going through was not right.
Right, right.
We need medical doctors. This is not a bash against medical doctors, but they failed her. And let's call a thing a thing.
Yeah.
They failed her. And so I saw prior to that, my sister had died suddenly in her 40s. After that, a few months later, my father had his first stroke. And I said, you know, this is all connected and we're leaving here and we're getting sick in our community, in our Black community, way too soon and too often. And it's usually the same thing that come up: high blood pressure, diabetes, strokes, and cancer. And so let me see here. It was a little bit after she died. I had to recover. I'm still recovering. I don't talk about my mother often because I can't.
Yeah.
It's just, I can talk about Joe Thomas, but I can't talk about Miss Bernardo yet. And it's been a while. I just can't. But in honoring her and her legacy and her memory and what we shared together and those things I promised her 3 days before she died, I returned to school. And because I'm Elissa Gabrielle, I didn't go to one college. I went to two. And I mean, my God. So I went to get a psychology degree and just continuing with psychology. And then I went to a school to learn about natural health. And I did some certifications in between. It was a lot of schooling. It's like 8 years of education I did in about 5 years. So I was good and tired when I finally finished. But what I learned was about mind, body, spirit connection.
Okay.
And let me just give you an example of that. So my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer. And one of the things that rests in the lungs is grief. And my mother had been so heartbroken all of her life.
Wow.
And so we know the physical components and the tangible things that we can associate with lung cancer, like, you know, being in the wrong environment and smoking and things. But we don't talk about how susceptible our bodies are to cancer and other disease when we're going through something emotionally and spiritually. So many people let her down. And so when I finally got to this point where I'm Dr. Elissa and I understand the connections, I could say, you know what? I know why that cancer got in her lungs and settled in there and traveled to her brain. She was heartbroken. We hold grief in our lungs. We hold resentment and anger in our liver. We hold fear and fright in our kidneys.
Goodness.
But when we have kidney issues and liver issues and lung issues, we don't talk about what the emotional connection is to that,
Right.
And how we heal in other areas of our life. You have to heal mind, body, and spirit so that you're in homeostasis and you're on one accord.
Yes.
It's like, okay, your kidneys are failing. Here, take this. Well, we got to peel back them layers.
Yeah.
So we can put the real issue to support that kidney.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's deep. It's a
It really is. And it's interesting to me because I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, pulmonary sarcoidosis in 2016. And there was a lot that happened after my parents died. I mean, first they died 3 months and 3 days apart. That was the first thing. And then there was a whole lot of drama. And I was constantly having chest pains and a lot of it, now that I think back on it, was grief. It was pain. I was mistreated and pushed to the side, all kinds of things like that. And then when I got the diagnosis, of course, nobody can tell you where it comes from. And the things they were telling me did not apply to me. So I couldn't figure out
Mhm.
where it came from. But now as I'm listening to you speak, a lot of things are clicking because I don't live in an industrial area where there's a lot of smoke in the air. And none of the things that they were telling me that that's where sarcoidosis comes from, I don't have any of that going on around me. But I did have a lot of grief and I did have a lot of pain. I did have a lot of unspoken pain, like dealing with child molestation and nobody in the family want to talk about it, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So what you just said just turned on a light bulb for me. And I'm sure it
Yeah.
will turn on one for other people that will hear this because there's so many things going on in our body that are connected to our minds and our spirits, but we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thoughts become things. And so you got this, you were diagnosed with the sarcoidosis after your parents died. There's a connection there. You know, it is. And a lot of people that see me, and I don't have a whole lot of clients, I got to take this slow.
Yeah.
But when they have like an autoimmune disease, they say, "Oh, you know, I've never been sick. It just happened."
Yeah.
And then I say, well, let's talk about that. When did it happen? And I'm usually able to trace when it happened to something traumatic in their lives. I have a client now, and I respect their privacy. I'm just going to say, I have a client now that Sjogren's syndrome. And it happened right around the time that she was uprooted and her life changed. She said, oh my God, I've never been sick. How do I get an autoimmune disease?
Wow.
And it was just parallel. I said, did anybody look at this? You know, again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'll never claim to be one. But if somebody comes to me, we're going to look at the whole person.
Yes. Yes.
You go through a life coaching session and we'll talk about some things that make sense, but we have to enlighten our minds and know that that's become things we have to control those thoughts.
I love that. I love that. Because then, you know, what happens is once, okay, I first started losing weight. Like I lost almost 70 pounds and nobody could figure out why. Like I got to the point I couldn't even sip water without it coming back up. And
Mhm.
so they sent me to get a CAT scan of my abdomen and accidentally saw some spots in the lower part of my lungs. So I
That's
go
called
to
an incidental finding.
okay. So then
Yeah.
they send me to the pulmonologist, and her exact words to me were, I'm very concerned about what I'm seeing on this CAT scan. So I want you to have a PET scan because I can, you know, get some answers right away. This was in May. They fought my insurance company all the way to August. So all of these months, I'm still losing weight. I don't know if I have lung cancer. I don't know what's going on.
Mm.
And so I just started thinking about that. It was more about the money than it was about finding out what was wrong with me. And then when I finally did get a diagnosis, it was sarcoidosis. But I thought about all those months of the strain and the stress and the depression, grieving my parents. Now I don't know if I got cancer. And you walking around with that all day. How can it not affect you? You know? Whew. That's
Now,
kind
you
of
know why you couldn't keep that water down?
why.
Because you could not digest your parents not being with you.
Okay.
That's digestion. You cannot swallow that.
That's powerful.
What that is.
Thank
Yes.
you. Wow. That was, yeah, that answered a lot of questions for me right there.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, I might need to schedule my own session.
Yes. I hope you do because I'm ready.
I know you are.
Ready.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep you all night because I mean, there's so much time, so much that I could catch up on with you. But I did want to address in your bio, in your media kit, I saw something that jumped out at me because it's also important to me. And it said that you are an advocate for Black men. And so this really is important to me, especially now more than ever, I think. Why is this so important to you, and how did this A Soul of a Man series come about?
Mhm. You know, let's take it back to Mr. Thomas. I remember we were riding down the New Jersey Turnpike, and we got pulled over by the cops. I was a young girl then. And I saw my father, 6'2", broad shoulders. He was a strong man. But when that cop knocked on that window, and it was back then, he had to roll the window down, his shoulders sunk in. He sort of cowered a bit. I said, my God, what is going on here? And he gave me the talk. And that stayed with me. I said, my father's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant musician. He's a wordsmith. He's just a caring and loving dad. And everybody in the neighborhood looks up to him and they love him. And he's played jazz music with the greats. He's been all across the world in Paris. And why are they speaking to him like this? You know? And children are like wet cement. Yeah. So whatever you place upon them is going to have an impression.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I connected the dots in my life. Whenever I would turn on the news, it's always the Black man was always the boogeyman.
That's right.
So that's very different from what I'm in the household with. My father is exceptional. The strongest, most brilliant Black man I knew at the time, and still one of the greatest ever, is not like this. Right. You know, like Black men are not. They were just being portrayed in ways that were unfamiliar to me. It doesn't mean that I've never come across, you know, some knuckleheads, and they come in all races and colors. It's not just Black men.
Right. That's right.
And so it was disturbing to me. I knew I had a voice. I wanted to use that voice. I wanted to publish my father. I wanted Black men to tell their story in their words and in their way. They're not only, you know, just known for their sexual prowess or just, you know, drug dealers and,
right.
You know, mass incarceration affected our families and broke down our communities in ways that people just want to continue to ignore.
That's right.
And so as a publisher, it's nice to write books like Eye the Beholder and nice romances and get accolades for that. But, you know, I bear a certain responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
And so as a storyteller, I just wanted to lend a voice to some other extraordinary Black men so they can say, you know what, we're real people. We have real feelings. The way society is set up, we're nobody's victim, but this shit ain't fair.
That's right. That's
and
right.
So they needed, I just wanted to be somebody that can provide a platform. And so that's how that started. And then, you know, every couple of years, I get a little bit of energy and I'm pissed off about something new. And I say, let's go do what we got to do. And so now we're getting ready to release book 3. It's The Soul of a Man. I Can't Breathe, because a lot of Black men in this country are feeling suffocated.
Absolutely.
To witness the death of a Black man. And thank God for that video. Now people can see what we deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And let me just tell you a quick story.
Sure.
Yesterday, this week is my son's birthday. And his birthday is actually Friday. And most people think that my daughter is the baby. And that's because she's always attached to my hip.
I thought she was the baby.
No, my son is.
Oh.
It's the smallest one in the house. So she's like the baby and she's always right here. But my son is the baby. And he's 6'3", 240 pounds, and he looks like a male model, but he's a Black man. And so he said, Mom, I want to go with my friends. We're going to go out. We're going to fly out and I'll be back in time for my birthday. We can celebrate. You know, I wasn't that Black mother that raised my daughter and loved my son. Yeah. He's fiercely independent and he's iconoclastic and he's a whole lot of things. And it just made me so nervous, you know? And so he's gone and he texted me today and he said, I'm okay. And I'll be back Thursday. And so I can't wait for Thursday because I'm nervous. So I speak for thousands of Black women or women with children of color when I say that we are nervous.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're so concerned about the safety and the health and welfare of ourselves and our Black men. And so that's the catalyst for the Soul of a Man series. is because we need to hear from them and we need to acknowledge their pain. We need to hear their victories and celebrate their worth. And who else is going to do it? I figured, okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'll do it.
That's powerful. I love that because I am a mother of two African-American sons, and one who's serving an asinine sentence. Every time I think about it, I get an attitude because he was given 50 years, 50, for 2 assault charges. Nobody died. Nobody almost died. There was no physical evidence that put him there. The victim said he didn't know who did. It just was like, what is going? It was like a circus. Like, I'm sitting in this courtroom and I'm thinking, if I don't even know this person, I'm saying there's no way they're going to find him guilty because they have absolutely nothing. But they did. And so I've been dealing with that for the last 15 years. And then my youngest son, he's actually been walking down the street, he was at a restaurant bar up the street, calls me 1 o'clock in the morning. And I say hello, and he says, Mom, if anything happens to me, I want you to know the police did it. Okay, well, what in the world is going on? Like, and I'm like jumping up out the bed. And I hear an officer saying, you look suspicious. So my son says, what it looks suspicious about me? Is it my skin color, my hair? What am I doing that makes you think? Because I'm just standing here, literally standing here, waiting on some friends. And then I hear the officer say, well, you know, I can arrest you for being smart mouth. So I say to him, read off the badge numbers to me. And I'm writing them down right now. Then I hear the other officer say, well, who are you talking to? He said, I'm talking to my mother, because if anything happens to me, she's going to know that you are the last two that I spoke with. Can you imagine the stress? And I didn't have a car. I didn't have any way to get to him. I'm just laying there like, oh my God, please don't. I don't want my son to be a hashtag. All of a sudden, I hear this officer say, what is your name? And my son tells him his name, and he says, didn't he used to play basketball for such and such a high school? And my son is like, yes. And he's like, oh my God, he's good. He's all right. I know him. You know, we used to play against them. What does that have to do with you? So if you didn't know him from high school, would he have been in the back of the car in handcuffs? Or would I be planning a funeral? Like, what is going on? And so I was telling a friend of mine, she's like, I don't understand why Black women are so agitated. And so I said, no, you don't understand. Because you don't, every time your child walks out the door, you don't have to be afraid of whether or not they're coming back.
Yeah. And so let me just tell you 2 things. You should not be surprised why your lungs are struggling with your son in that prison sentence, combined with everything else. There's more, more pieces of the puzzle. But I want to put you, I know you know who Tasha is, and that I'm producing that documentary on her voices. I think we should probably talk after this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going through the same thing, and it's tragic and it's horrific. And I just hope we can affect some type of change, because this is out of control. And so many lives are affected by this, and the families are dismantled because of this sentences. And it's horrible, and it affects our men disproportionately. So I like for us to have a conversation.
Man. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go there. But it's just, when I saw you talking about being an advocate for the Black men, I'm like, we have got to do that. And we can't take our foot off the gas. We can't, okay, something happened with George Floyd. We get mad, we hit the street. And then, a few months later, we back off. We can't do that, because there are lots of George Floyds that are not in the news. There are a lot of young men who are being, my son said to me one day, he said, Mom, do you know how many guys in this prison have died the same way George Floyd died, but it's not being reported? He said, all they have to say is he resisted and your life means nothing. And so as a mom, I'm constantly every day, if I don't hear from him, I start immediately praying, like, what's going on, what's going on. And then with this COVID situation, like, there were like weeks that they were not allowed to come out of their cells and get fresh air, nothing. So I'm just grateful because there are people like you that have a heart for people that don't have a voice. Like, you don't hesitate to use your voice to help other people be aware of their voices. And then some people don't know how to use their voice. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you don't hesitate to speak up for the Black men and for people such as myself who have chronic health issues that really are not even physically, they don't come from physical issues. It's like emotional things that are affecting us physically, and we don't know how to deal with it. And then God blesses people like you to come along and say, okay, well, let's look at this. Because I'm not as young as I used to be. And some things I know are age related, but there is just a lot of things that just don't make sense to me, why all of a sudden this will start bothering you and hasn't bothered you. And even what you said about that water, like that was like a light bulb came on for me, because just all of a sudden, literally, I could not drink water. Like, what is that? That's crazy. But what you said makes so much sense. Wow.
Well, we have more information now. We have tools and we have to share it. So we'll talk. We'll definitely talk. And then I'm sending you something here. I said I had a gift for you, so I'm sending you a gift.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
The naturals. Yeah, I just have to get to the post office.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
I think you're gonna love it. I use it. So many people use it, and you're gonna love it.
All right. So and I know there's something going on because you never are not doing anything. So what's next on the horizon for you that we should be looking out for?
Well, I took some breaks after I finished school earlier, a couple months ago. I went to Jamaica for a week and kind of just, even with this back situation and everything else.
I was very happy to see that.
Oh, thank you.
I was very happy.
Relaxed. And I'm kind of just woosahing. I'm exhaling.
Good.
I see a handful of clients, and I do have office space when clients need to see me in the office. I'm doing that. And my life is like it's several branches to the Elissa Gabrielle tree. So I'll continue to see clients. I'm working on 2 novels right now. And then I have, I don't know if I can even say anything about it, but I'm developing 2 television shows. So I don't want to say anything else because I feel like just shut up about it for now.
Okay.
And, I have an agent now for the modeling and the
Oh, all right. Now,
I can't
go
do
ahead,
too much
girl.
acting because my husband is like, no, I don't want you acting. So I kind of gotta figure that out. But commercials.
But he doesn't mind the
stuff.
modeling part, huh?
Right, print work he's okay with, but that acting thing, it just gets under his skin. So I I gotta figure that out. But in any case, I'm looking forward to just, if I got one major print ad, I'd be very happy. If I got one commercial, I'd be happy. But I never thought I would do this. My friend Michelle Joyce, who is one of the loves of my life, she used to be the director of marketing for Bad Boy Entertainment. She's responsible for turning Sean Combs into Puffy.
Okay.
We were at Chelsea Piers, I think it's called. It's where the YouTube studios are in New York. Okay. And we were there a couple years ago, and we were having lunch, and she said, "Lise, you are so gorgeous. I want you to go into modeling." And like I said earlier in the interview, it's something that I had shied away from for years. And I said, the clock is ticking. And it was something about the way she said it and some examples that she showed me. And she said, I want you to do it. But knowing Michelle, I knew that if I just said, okay, she don't let up off the gas. So I had to do it. So I quietly created a Facebook page and used a different hashtag and created an Instagram page. And I was like, oh, I'm getting all these brand ambassador opportunities. And
Wow.
I was like, maybe she's onto something. So listen, if nothing else ever happens, I'm happy for the 2 that I've accepted. I could cross that off my bucket list.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
something else happens and it's kind of major, I'll be really happy. But
Wow.
if it doesn't happen, it's okay.
Okay.
So anyway, I want to credit Michelle Joyce with finally, after all these years, pushing me to do that.
Giving you that little nudge.
Giving me that nudge. And so we'll see. But so that's in the future. If something comes up, that'll be in the future. Maybe a television show, we'll see. Helping people that need the help. And then expanding Peace in the Stone Publishing and continuing to write. And that's enough.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I definitely would love to talk to you about the thing with my son. And the funny thing is that I started a book about my experience as a mother whose son was snatched away by the state. And as he was writing a book, which I didn't know since he's been in there. And so he sent me this manuscript to look at. And it's really, I guess it's called the urban lit genre, which I'm totally like unfamiliar with. Like, I mean, I've read a couple, but it's just not my thing, right? So when he sent me these 300 pages, and I've got one hand over this eye, like reading the sex scenes.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, Jesus. So when I'm talking to him on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you sent that to me. He's falling out laughing. And he said, I let my celly read some of it. And he kept saying, I know you're not sending this to your mother. And he's like, oh, my mother can handle it. I was like, oh no, your mother cannot. but he did a really good job with it so far. So yeah, we definitely got some work to do, because we want to not just be people that just sit back and complain, but we want to make some sustainable changes also. Yes. So yeah, I definitely look forward to that conversation. And again, yeah, I am so glad that you accepted my invitation.
Well, thank you for thinking of me. I enjoyed myself. I'm happy to be here, and I want us to talk some more, so we will.
Yes, ma'am. And I have all of your information, your contact information and whatnot, and I'm going to put that on the YouTube video so that people can have reach out to you. And then once I upload this to Facebook, I know you can be prepared, because a lot of people are going to be bombarding you. And soon,
that's okay.
As soon as I said, when I get upgraded equipment, we'll be able to live stream, and then that way yes, people can interact with you while you're talking. But at this point, I'm gonna just be honest. I'm just like really selfish, and I just want my guests to myself. And
yes, I understand.
So as I grow and develop, then maybe I'll let those people come in. But right now, I just want you all to myself.
Yes, and you do a superb job. I'm happy to be here. I'm thankful for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go because I know you got something else to do tonight, but I love you so much, Elissa.
I love you too.
And God bless you and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll talk again very soon.
Yes.
I love you.
All right. Love you too. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.